Okay, so we're talking about end-stage treatment. So what I'm finding is these patients who were raised in households where emotions were not discussed at all, or they were punished for having them in their mind. They really enjoy making a space just to talk through their emotions. I don't know, it's just an interesting phenomenon because we have several now, including Dr. F, who's now going to be he wants to do the package and just come every Friday. So, because he just needs that, somehow they won't create it on their own, or they don't trust that they can create it on their own. You know, it's Dr. F, Dr. T now, Mr. K. But they all have that in common where they, you know, this isn't just people who, I don't know, took an emotion and ran with it or buried it. They had some emotions going on in the family. It's just interesting that all of my patients who were totally deprived of any emotional discussion at all are the ones who just like that comfort of having the time. It's like people who go to the gym. We talked about that before. People go to the gym because they know they're going to have that time to exercise. They're not going to do it on their own. Right. So he's one. But the end stage like this, they do all the work.
It was
they just want the space.
His biggest concern today was that he's like, I know I allowed something to happen that I probably didn't really want. You know, a friend of the family stayed at his house. He even told his wife, like, I don't really want her to stay. And then the wife was like, well, I really do. He's like, well, then I'm going to put distance between us. And she's like, that's fine. So I think it's kind of like he was able to at least say what he wanted, but this is how it's going to have to look.
Oh,
you know,
that's very new.
Oh,
yeah. No, it's relatively new that he was able to tell his wife he didn't want something. If she said, if she suggested, hinted at, mumbled anything, it was, you know, I have to do it. It's incumbent upon him. It was this,
he did say it came out with like well, I kind of, I don't really want her staying here. But he said it.
And his friend is very invasive. She's very talkative and doesn't know when to stop. And so, so for him to say he didn't want it, and then for her to say, well, I really do, because that would be the end. That was the second phase. He was able to say it, and she'd go, well, that's, I don't understand why. She doesn't know their option. We can't say no, or something like that, and that would be it. So when she said no, he was able to say, well, about a compromise. So that's great, because we've been constantly trying to get to that.
It wasn't, I don't think it was as smooth as that, but it was.
But the broad template is there.
Speaking of the invasiveness,
yes.
So they were having, Mr. K and that other person, the chocolate one, they were having a conversation, and she was complaining, and then he said something that was, or gave unsolicited advice, and she burst out crying.
Oh, wow.
So then his big reason of what he wanted to discuss today was like, why did I do that? You know, I know that unsolicited advice is invasive. So why did I want to do that to her?
And your answer?
He's like, so I didn't give him an answer. He's like, so this is what so he keeps telling me. He's like, well, she was making me mad and angry.
And
he couldn't say, please stop.
Right, he couldn't set up a boundary.
So he just punished her.
Yeah.
Or he's like, so then I poked her.
Yeah,
But
okay.
he told me everything I'm thinking. I'm like, And he's like, so I really wondered why I did that. He's like, I was up at 4:30 in the morning, bothered by, I couldn't figure out why I did that to her. And then he's like, but then I think I figured it out. And then he said what he figured out. So that it's really, it's so interesting to watch him like figure it out on his own.
He couldn't name an emotion when he first came to see me 12 years ago. Couldn't name one.
Yeah, he's doing my job.
And if I suggested one, he would argue with me. What? Okay. Yeah.
So he's... So yes, and then he's like, okay, let me think about work. Am I avoiding anything at work? What am I doing? I said, well, you know, how are you doing at being able to step away?
Just by the way, FYI, work talk can be a defense against talking about personal things.
Okay.
most people don't have the same emotional investment in work. They do have trouble setting boundaries there too and all that, but the emotional investment isn't there. So just watch for that.
His big concern right now, though, is that his wife gets to do things, gets to like go walk a dog, where he's still stuck at work. So he's mad and jealous that, and I said, well, and that's when it's always like, well, what keeps you from just stopping, joining her, or doing, you know?
He owns the business. Actually, he sold the business, and he's like really a peripheral player, and he could certainly make his own schedule.
He did today make a comment about how, you know, if they want to, he used some curse words today. He's like, so I'm just recording. So it's just like, if they want to effing pay me just to sit here and do a training, I guess I let them effing pay me. I'm like, okay, or what? I said, that's what I said. Or what's the other option?
Right.
He goes, I don't really know if I have that many other options since, you know, this is a contract. Or I'm like, well, do you have, I said, when do you have to do it at a certain time? And he's like, I could always leave it to the afternoon so I could do something else. Well, I said, okay.
That's very new for him. Even when he was the head of the company, acting like he had all these restraints. And now these people who bought the company are in another state. A few times he's asked for, you know, they put something on him, and like, what would happen if you said you didn't like that? What would they do? Oh my God, well, they expect me to do it. I mean, oh my God, they would ask me if they expect me to do that whole thing. So finally he would start asking, you see, this isn't my favorite thing. And they're like, oh, then we'll get someone to do it.
He's like,
so
he said he's still doing a good, he feels like he's doing a good job delegating stuff.
Oh, that's me too.
Still,
good.
He's like, I don't understand why I can't trust that people, he's like, I'm always scared, or I don't know if he's scared. He's like, I'm always concerned that I'm going to ask someone and they're going to be like, oh, I'm too overwhelmed. And he's like, I was the one that was overwhelmed. They're not overwhelmed. He's like, I was.
Or they're being paid to be busy. Yeah, so he has a narcissism. He's a nice narcissist. So he would, you know, only so one of his big defenses to his needs was nobody in this business who've been with him for decades can do it. They can't do it. They can't do it right. Oh, he's gonna fuck it up. I can't give it to him. I can't delegate. I got to be the one. I'm the only one who can do this. Narcissism is defined by not being not having a good self-esteem or healthy self-esteem, or even being your own advocate. It's about pushing somebody else down. They have to be up. Everybody else has to be down. So it's this belittling, and you haven't even asked the person, or how are they going to get better if you don't ever give them the chance? You know, I got another one of these too. Everybody is, you know, they say things like, I have one patient who's dating a lot, but he plays the game. So he's on a dating site and he's like, I love the game, texting and trying to get them to go out with me and everything. He's like, but I just feel so guilty. Why? Right. Okay. Because if I say no to them and they're expecting me to go out with them and I say no, or she's not the one, they'll be so devastated. Oh. I'm trying to get, I said, can you see how, another way of saying that is they can't survive without you? No. I want them to survive without me. But so they have trouble. And Mr. K is another one. This whole, no, I said, you're acting like you have control. My mother will be devastated. That's the continuous one. That's the hardest one. My mother will be absolute. Her oldest son doesn't want to have lunch with her. She'll just be destroyed with this little old lady at home by herself. It goes on and on. So your mother's a very capable woman. You keep painting her as a way to not be able to say, I'm so sorry, Mom's not going to work. The times he has, she's been fine. He fantasizes this whole meltdown, you know, so yeah, all here can't survive without me doing something for them.